Hello, I'm Dr. Franita Ware, and it is chapter 6, the last chapter of our summer Warm Demander Teachers Book Club. And today we're going to talk about healing ourselves and healing our students. And we know, you understand me by now, the healing starts with the radical self-care work. And that's why it's the beginning chapter of the book. That's why I encourage you to not just do this for the summer, get well for the summer. Teachers come back all refreshed from the summer, whether it's August or September when you return to school. And then unfortunately that healthy glow wears off too quickly. And many school communities experience what I call the burnout roller coaster, just that roller coaster of stress, of counting the days to the next break and becoming very tense with colleagues. And of course, your students experience that too. And, just waiting for holidays. And then by January, it's like that fast roller coaster ride down to the end of the school year, which is not thrilling, which a roller coaster ride is supposed to be, but it's really very stressful. And I want teachers to build their resiliency through radical self care and to flatten that roller coaster through the year. Ride roller coasters if you like roller coasters, but school environments should not be just a roller coaster of burnout and stress and emotions, because not only does that harm you, it harms our students. And so in chapter 6, I write about transformational relationships, because that's the last part of the chapter of the book title, Healthy, Whole, and Transformational. And I hope you've had a classroom experience where it just was the best experience. Not perfect. There were days when, lessons didn't happen the way you wanted to, or there were relationships with students that weren't going well. But the goal of the Warm Demander teacher is to create a transformational learning experience for their students. I mentioned before the successful student learner identity and the student leader that emerges when you're doing culturally responsive inquiry lessons. And I want to tell you briefly about a story that a teacher told me while I was collecting data for the book. And she talked about having a student who needed her class to graduate but resisted the topic and really believed that he was not capable of doing the work, that he couldn't be successful at doing the work. And the teacher wouldn't give up. And so he was resistant and hesitant, and she would not give up, which is typical Warm Demander teacher. She would not give up on him learning the content and being successful in the work. She simply would not give up on him. And at the end, he told her that she was a hard, easy teacher, in that she made a very hard topic become easy. And it was her persistence and her commitment to his success and her willing to look inside of him and see his brilliance and help him bring his brilliance out. The other thing chapter 6 talks about is the need for great teachers, teachers who are committed to our students. It provides the historical perspective of how teachers, our students who frequently the most marginalized in schools were students of color, BIPOC students, Black, Indigenous, people of color. And the Warm Demander teacher was the one who saw past all those biases and all those negative influence about students and said, you're going to be successful with me. We need those teachers. We need all teachers to be Warm Demanders, to commit to student success, to commit to helping them discover their greatness. And it takes time. And it requires a teacher, of course, to be well, because this is very stressful work. This is very different than just driving students through the curriculum through the whole year. And it's like the teacher does all the talking, all the just pouring the information in students and getting them prepared for a test, and then they're tested. Where the Warm Demander teachers creates this classroom environment where students grow and they understand that they're growing and they understand that they're getting a unique experience in this classroom that they've never had before, if they've never had a Warm Demander teacher before. Many of our teachers and our students have been harmed in schools from a variety of ways, and a variety of ways of not seeing them as valuable. And in the Warm Demander classroom, the intent is to transform that experience for the students from a teacher who is first healthy and then committed to going through the Warm Demander teacher journey so that their students can have an amazing experience. And that becomes a reciprocal experience with the teacher. I've seen that. I've experienced it when I've taught. How the students make you better, you make the students better, and it just becomes this beautiful relationship. And that's the type of transformation I'm talking about. I'm talking about healing our classrooms. I'm talking about healing schools. And it comes from implementing a lot of the strategies I talk about in the Warm Demander Teacher's book. And there is no one way to be a Warm Demander teacher. Everyone has their own personality. There are some guidelines. There are some strategies that I offer in the book. And there are even more that are not in the book that I'm continuing to develop in the professional development work that I do with schools. But everyone gets to be their own identity. This teacher who was the hard, easy teacher, very petite, very quiet, teaches science. I don't want to give you any type of stereotypes, but she's not the loud, jumping on the table teacher, that sense of the Warm Demander. She's very calm, but she knows her content, which is critical, and she doesn't give up on her students. And that is healing in itself, because to give that type of commitment to students, the teacher has to be well. We just can't get past being well first, which is why the radical self-care is so important. To become a Warm Demander teacher, the journey can be arduous if you're not prepared to really go beyond what you've done in the past and really emerge as this great healed teacher, because healthy people create healthy environments around them. There's ripple effect that comes from the physical and brain health of engaging in radical self-care, and students experience that. They feel that. They learn how to navigate conflicts. They see the teacher collaborating with their colleagues and collaborating with students, and even students who may be considered to be difficult. With the Warm Demander classroom, they move past it. They work past it. The teacher and the student learn how to interact with each other. They learn how to become the hard, easy teacher if that's the needs for that particular student. So this is the last chapter of the summer book club for Warm Demander teachers. I'm breaking up. I'm feeling some kind of feels about all of this. But I love this work. And so reach out to me if you have any questions. I do have a handout that I will send you if you will contact me at my website. It's about neurotransmitters for the Warm Demander classroom. That's part of healing the brain. That's also part of creating the type of emotional feelings you want to have in the classroom. The oxytocin that students feel when they walk into a Warm Demander classroom, or they're having a really great lesson, or the dopamine they experience when they've achieved that goal of not giving up and learning that lesson. And so I have a handout that I'm happy to share with you so that you know how to do that quickly in your classroom. So contact me on my website. I have the handout page I'm happy to send to you. And I hope you've enjoyed our book study. Contact me with questions. Get the book if you haven't read it. Read it again. And thank you for joining me for the Warm Demander Teacher Summer Book Club. Thank you.